Good morning. Last night, again, we finally got some rain. I understand in Taipei, you've been blessed with rain a little bit on and off. But here in, again, we haven't had much rain at all. So last night's rain was welcome indeed. It's a respite from the heat. Everybody's happy after rain when it hasn't rained for a while. But it's a funny thing about human nature. When it rains a lot, we long for those dry days. And after accumulation of dry days, we're longing for the rain. Of course, it's good practice for us to accept simply what is. But it doesn't mean that we can't appreciate rain when it comes after a dry spell, or a break from the rain after too many days of raining. Nothing's wrong with appreciation. The problems come from expectations, desires, motivations. These are the emotions that we need to temper them until we're able to eliminate them all together. And this is made more immediate by the connection between suffering and desires, suffering and emotive conduct, anger, jealousy, resentment, playing the blame game, being a victim, in other words. We all know people who claim to be victims. But when you really look at it, they're victims of themselves. As is everything else, victimhood is generated and sustained from within. So that step one looms once again. Acceptance, to see the interconnectedness, to see the workings of the world. And once the inevitable concept of change is fully recognized and embraced, only then do we start to release from the misguided emotional, mental, and physical attempts to quantify and qualify the world around us. And after acceptance comes yet again surrender. I remember being in a large group where a brother was sharing with us that he had surrendered to the teacher. And I remember thinking that this is not a one-time process. Surrender. You just don't surrender once. I surrender. And that's the end of it. Surrender is a constant state. You need to have some vigil at the beginning to stay focused into surrender. You need to reinforce it with practice, just like your meditation practice. You need to do it daily and preferably multiple times per day. Just as meditation does not take prolonged periods to practice, you can practice a series of brief meditations. And the same with surrender. And as you advance in your journey to nowhere, once again, the illusion that you're going somewhere serves the purpose, where the reality is there's nowhere to go. You're already there. You're already in a perfect state of grace. But as you take your daily steps, meditation becomes part of you. You don't have to formally sit and say, I'm dedicating, I'm meditating now. It's like saying, I'm breathing now. It will become this automatic. And so it is with surrender. You don't have to say, I surrender. Although in the beginning, it's good to remind ourselves that we're doing so. I'm meditating now. Don't bother me. I'm surrendering now. It's a constant process, just as being is a constant process. It gets to the point where you can do nothing about it. Try to monitor your breathing. Try to change your breathing. Try to consciously breathe. You'll abandon this quite quickly as a tedious task. Try to monitor your heartbeat. Try to speed it up. Try to slow it down. Good exercises, but really exercises in futility. So you move towards a state of constant surrender. You move towards a state of constant meditation. You move towards a state of constant silence. All the while paying attention to what could possibly be next. And that's where I am as I sit and gaze into the little green light on the top of the monitor of my iMac, as I use photo booth to capture this image, and an external microphone, which badly needs to be improved upon, I know, to capture my voice. These things are so. We can see them, feel them, hear them, think them with consistency. And remember, it's a constant state, not to be silent, not to be meditating, not to be surrendering, but being surrender, being meditation, being silence, being happy. Being in a state of equanimity. And most important, being aware. Don't be lulled into complacency. There's no place for complacency. Just as a cat sits still before it pounces on its prey, so must me. So what? So must we be in a constant state of awakeness, of awareness, in preparation for what comes in the next moment, for what comes in the next breath. How do we utilize the state of awareness? We use it for contemplation. We use it for being available to revelations, being available to those around us. My wife knows now that when I'm sitting in meditation, it's not necessarily, don't interrupt me. When she stands there in the doorway, in my meditation room, I sense her presence. My eyes open, smile on my face, ready to listen to what she has to say. She's a woman who chooses her words very carefully. They're a result of thinking. They have a purpose. And because meditation is a constant state for me, allows me to deal with the moment. It's not about postponing, putting something off till later, because we need to deal with things as they come. And dealing does not mean to take immediate action. Some things require contemplation. Some things were like the cat, where we need to pounce because the moment is correct. So we have to constantly monitor, witness what's going around us, what's going on around us, to see where our place, what is appropriate action for us to take, which includes non-action. Sometimes we just need to listen, but always consider the origin of your words. Today I'm talking about what's going on through my embracing of this newfound appreciation of the beauty of silence and considering beyond. So today I'm calling my teaching Silence and Beyond. And this is a call to myself to remember to be present at all times, to be alert, to listen, because we do get glimpses of what's next. We do understand the great beyond our current state. This is the nature. If you but wait in awareness, the beyond will start beckoning. And because of that polarity, free will, destiny, preordained, self-ordained, self-maintained. It's just like the future. Preordained, free will, both forces are acting at the same time, and not independently, not in a contradictory manner, but as inclusive, part of one and the same. So we talk about echoes from the past. We all hear those echoes. Our silent witness shares them with us at both appropriate and sometimes inappropriate times. Inappropriate in that the suggestion being that there's still something in the past that hasn't been completely reconciled. Especially if you find a memory of the past upsets your equilibrium, upsets your being. It means that it needs to be examined, that there was something there that needs to be reconciled. And reconciled does not mean corrected. Reconcile means recognized, accepted, and forgiveness. Forgiving yourself for your transgressions. And all this is tempered with the understanding that you will do better when the opportunity presents itself once again. Because opportunities are unlimited. They start to, as you've incorporated. As you've dealt with these things, they will come up less and less, and the urgency and the insistency will be less and less. The future comes in glimpses as well. Whether you're gifted with farsight, you can see far into the future, or whether you just hear the chimes, the sounds, the music of the future. But this is all propelled by your acceptance that change is and will be part of the moment that you experience next. So what I meant by silence and beyond now was a revolution for me to get from understanding of silence and helping me to understand a state of being silence. To understand first the differences, and second, to embrace this state as a constant companion, being in silence. And now that I'm closer, never arrive at a destination. There's always another step to get deeper into a deeper understanding of the destination. And remember my body contoured rocks that I've placed conveniently along my path, where I can sit down in respite and just enjoy the simple state of being. Relax from the past. Let the future unwind as it will. Just breathe. Enjoy. Rejuvenate is key here. So my awareness now is that silence is not a be-all and end-all. It's an active process. It's not about eliminating anything. If, in fact, quite the contrary, you begin to add everything to the state of being in silence. That's the beauty of it. Barrier free. But one can't help but wonder what's beyond. Not beyond in getting past anything, Not like as you're climbing that mountain and the hills and the smaller mountains and wondering, what's next? What's behind this mountain when I reach to the top? In many ways, this metaphor of climbing the mountain loses its significance as you begin to understand that there's always something beyond. You don't arrive at a destination. Christmas Humphreys said it best, walk on. Walk on in equanimity. Walk on in silence. Walk on in grace. And spread, share with all of your brothers and sisters, with all of God's creatures, as they say. Your presence can begin to influence. You will start to learn that there's a world beyond words. We've been warned by every adept, every master, every talk, that words are hollow. Words are not to be mistaken for a thing. They're a construct, socially accepted, culturally developed, means to a way, means to an end. And the only thing that ends is our understanding of who we think we are, what we think we are. Because all of these things, unless we think that we're part of an infinite wholeness, if we've arrived at this state where we can dwell in ordinariness with the understanding and the celebration of everyone and everything is this state. But an end of limitations, an end of restrictions, an end of taking away something, limiting anything in the hopes that you can attain that you can experience these states of mind, states of body, states of soul. You get glimpses, and that's what is beyond any state that you've accomplished or that you're in the process of accomplishing. There's beyond, and we can hear the echoes from the beyond, which in many ways is listening to the future. And we discover these new things on our personal journey. We rediscover, we discover them again, for all of this is our intrinsic nature. We know. So it's more a process of remembering. And I like the word discovery because it's delightful. It's as if we're first. But as we get more and more comfortable with the understanding that there's nothing new, everything has been discovered by someone. But this is no means to diminish our own personal discoveries. And our eagerness to go on to the next discovery. And our understanding that the next discovery, at least the seeds of the next discovery, lie in our next step. Sometimes we step and it's a eureka moment. I found it. Sometimes the steps have to accumulate so that it becomes more vivid, more crystal in our understanding. These are the treats. These are the treasures. These are the opportunities that lie in our path, that are encompassed by our path and through our path. Don't worry, you won't miss anything. And if by chance that you do miss, you'll certainly get another opportunity if it's important enough for you on your journey. So be in the moment, in a state of being, but listen for the echoes of the future.